If we look at yesterday's result in Monochrome GT4 Australia, Ryland Gray, George Miedeke doing the business in the Lubramax Ford from Jared Hughes and Summer Rintoul. That is a great story. A couple of juniors from 888. But one of the emerging things that we want to shine a light on, I guess you could say, is that Garth Walden with that Toyota Supra in the top three yesterday. That's cool.
It certainly is, and such a representation of all the great manufacturers that we have in the Monochrome GT4 series. Now, we did have a quick chat to Zoe Woods on the grid, and she had wets on. Will that benefit her in P9? Let's find out in a few minutes.
Let's get an update before we go to your commentators. Here's Chris Stubbs.
Thank you, Rusty. I've got Aaron Cameron here alongside me. We thought we'd just do a quick pitch report. Aaron, we heard from Ryan, your co-driver on Hansford, out there earlier. Just to put a full stop on yesterday. Nash Morrison contact there. That was yesterday's news. Today is a new day, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I haven't actually spoken to him, but he's starting next to us, or the co-drivers are, so they'll sort it out on track, I'm sure.
Fair enough. Talk to us about these conditions. I'm not going to use the vocabulary that you use to describe what's in front of us, but how would you describe the black stuff today?
The black stuff's looking rather dark and wet, so I'm pretty glad that I'm here. I'm currently in the rain, but I will be getting back inside that garage pretty soon, and yeah, I hope they all survive and have fun whilst I'm staying dry for now.
In all seriousness too, it's not just about tyre selection, is it? It's about visibility. It's also about keeping the shoes dry and the driver change too. There's a lot of little details. There's sometimes a bit of fog and mist on the windscreen as well.
Yeah, well, and there's, actually, I've probably got to tell Ryan, but there's all the different buttons you've got to hit in the car when it goes to dry. Headlights, rain light. If you go to the wet tyre, we've got to hit the wet tyre button, but then also turn another dial and turn it back again. It's not as easy as just driving out there. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty scary race. I think there's only a couple of cars already on wets, and I anticipate there'll be a few boxing on this formation lap.
There you go, some great insights from Supercar star and Aaron Cameron. Go get dry, thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Let's get close to getting this race underway. Let's head to our commentators, Richard Craill and Thomas Randall.
Chris Stubbs, thank you. This has drama potential written all over it. The 8th race in the 2025 Monochrome GT4 Australia series. It's been blockbuster stuff since round one. Overnight, we've had lead changes in a couple of classes as well. The silver class, which is often the headline category in GT4 Australia. For the first time this season, Ryland Gray and George Miedeke now lead the series by 4 points. A lead change overnight after yesterday's race, with Tom Heyman and Max Gagan surrendering their series lead that they've held throughout the championship since the opening round at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit way back in April this year. So there's a bit attached to this, and now the weather emerges at Sandown. We've been playing the will it, won't it rain game since 9 o'clock yesterday morning, and right up to now it's been it won't. But right now, it has. And could this be a master straight for TechWorks Motorsport and Zoe Woods and Nash Morris, who, as far as we understand, are the only of the 27 cars on this grid that are starting on a wet weather Pirelli tyre?
Yeah, the rain's been teasing us, hasn't it, Crailsy? It's definitely at least drizzling out there. We can see it from our commentary box, and we do know that the 210 Porsche is starting on wet tyres. Here are our pole sitters for the Silver Am Cup, Hansford and Cameron, who we heard from on the grid, saying that it's not exactly like a TCM car, a little bit different. Then we've got Callahan and Lillis, who they were running really strongly yesterday and had that puncture right at the end on the last lap. What a disaster for them. And then our overall pole sitters, Gagan and Heyman, who'd be looking to try and retake the lead of the championship, but they've got that almighty Ford Mustang of George Miedeke in behind.
Yeah, AM-Class first car, Chris Lillis. Amazing job in qualifying by that group to be 4th outright in front of Jacob Lawrence and Shane Smollen. Cody Bircher and Tim Lay out of 7. There's the Pro Silver Am Cup pole sitter, Aaron Cameron and Ryan Hansford, alongside the TechWorks Porsche. Seaton and Gomersall out of 12 alongside the Audi. Awesome drive yesterday from Jared Hughes and Summer Rintoul to get P2. It's their 3rd second place finish of the season in the 888 run Mercedes AMG, and an outright podium finish and a class victory for the Daniel Frugas Tim Berryman Toyota Supra. Matt McCutcheon's been fast in Tony Quinn's Toyota Supra. Peter Lawrence out of position number 20. Ryder Quinn was superb yesterday, unfortunately involved in the carnage down at turn 4 in the opening couple of laps. The AR19 Racing Mercedes AMGs are all together, as they have been all season when they've been running 3 cars. Marcus Liddell got a third in class yesterday with Jared Kite. Unfortunately, they start a long way back in this one, and 2 cars off the back that will be worth following. Ben Newman starts the Buckby Motors Mercedes. Lockie Dalton will be, I think, very, very handy in these conditions. And Nathan Murray starts the Morris BMW that he's sharing with 16-year-old son Jay. And as Aaron Cameron predicted, perhaps alluding to the fact that his team was going to be one of them doing it, they've pitted on the formation lap and they are chucking wet tyres on. So too Tony Quinn's team. I can see the Tough Lift McLaren for Team Suda Motorsport in the back of the field as well. So this is a formation lap. You can do this. You're going to have to start right at the back of the field, but you will have an advantage in these opening laps on an increasingly wet Sandown International Motor Raceway.
And this just feels very reminiscent of race 1 at Queensland Raceway, where the rain fell while they were on the starting grid, and we saw cars, the Jared Hughes car that pitted before the race began. And now, because they've pitted before the race is actually underway, it doesn't count essentially as a mandatory pit stop. So they're going to have to obviously pit again, but this could be a master stroke, really, from everyone that's taken the wet tyres, albeit they will be down the back of the field. So,
well, they'll be a long way behind the field, actually, because the pack is heading up towards turn 6 and the run down towards the famous Dandenong Road corner. They're still in pit lane, but they'll be hustling and they'll be going very, very quickly. 2 formation laps in this race. This is the second. Just gives them an opportunity to feel out the track conditions, where the grip level's at, and then they'll get stacked and ready to go for a race with Max Gagan and George Miedeke to lead the field towards turn 1.
I think that was Newman as well that we saw come in for a wet weather tyre change. Now, I'm curious to see how many people are going to pit on this lap, or this warm-up lap, whether we'll see more. In fact, they're actually gridding up now. So
about to go.
I think we're actually, about to get set for a race.
I think if you were going to pit, you've done it now. Just a black bumper bar on Glenn Walker's BMW. Starts about mid-pack, car number 14. You can see it left of screen. He got fined $1,000 yesterday for ignoring a yellow flag down at Dandenong Road, and had an incident, brought out the BMW M safety car. The rain is falling at Sandown Raceway in Melbourne. A bunch of the field are on slick Pirelli tyres. Some are on wets. They've rolled the dice, and it might come up double sixes for them. We find out with an hour's worth of racing in Monochrome GT4 Australia, race number 2 in the 4th round of a compelling championship. Away we go. The Mustang struggling to put all the torque and horsepower of the big Ford V8 to the ground. The McLaren on the inside is Max Gagan, the young Queenslander, and he has a huge moment, Gagan, and he'll spin in front of the field, and it's all stacks on the mill as they check up behind him. Shane Smollen had to take massive evasive action. Jake Camilleri's got up to 2nd place. 3rd, it looks like a BMW, potentially Tim Lay.
And then Zoe Woods is up into 4th, so she's already moved up 4 spots on those wet tyres. Everyone just going very tentatively out there at the moment. You can see the rain falling from the Supercheap Auto wall cam. And there's Zoe Woods. She's got all the traction. Massive slide off the turn 5 kick for Tim Lay. And this is just working out perfectly so far for Zoe Woods in that Porsche.
Tim Lay knows he's alive at the moment. The heart rate's at 180. Almost swapped ends through the kink at turn 5. George Miedeke, with all of his massive experience in that Ford Mustang platform, has pulled away early. One of the AR19 Mercedes in pit lane. Everyone choked up now behind Jake Camilleri, who's made a good start in that brand new Ford Mustang. This is his first race in that car. Woods passed Lay, so she's up to 3rd place in the Porsche on the wet tyre, started 9th. Next target is Jake Camilleri. The next question is, does the rain persist? If it does, at what point do you pull into pit lane and throw wets at your car? Or do you try and hang on for the mandatory pit stop? But they've got 25 minutes of racing before that even opens.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, what a great job from everyone on that opening lap. We had one spinner, but he managed to get it going and get Maxi Gagan off the pole position. But so far, everyone relatively keeping it cleanly, and a great job from George Miedeke to get to the lead. Now, where the master stroke works for, there's a move, is that Purdy going down the inside of the Randall Racing Machine? Price on Jacob Lawrence. And I think Lawrence has got it back as Lawrence now goes off and turns 2 and 3 and hopefully rejoins okay. But what I was going to say there, Crailsey, is this so far being a master stroke for Zoe Woods. If it dries up, they're going to have to go back to slick tyres. Oh no, is that Campbell gone around?
They are having a shocking weekend. They were in a really good position. They lost second place in the Silver Am class overnight after yesterday's race, and he's going to have to perform a Austin Powers spec turn to get that car turned around, and this is what happened. Battle pack down into turn 3. So Jacob Lawrence off in the foreground in the Randall Industries BMW in the background. There's Dean Campbell. The Bathurstians just had the spin putting the power down.
Yeah, just lost on his own there, and cold slick tyre on a damp Sandown Raceway. Not a great combination really, and Tim Lay, you can see just really struggling under brakes there on those slick tyres, Gagan all over the back of him, but he too is on slick tyres, so really tricky conditions. And there's a lead change now for Zoe Woods. We're not really too surprised by this because she is on the wet tyre, but great to see the 210 TechWorks Porsche now taking the lead of the race. And the question will be, what sort of lead can they get? What sort of advantage can they get in case they need to do a tyre change? We've still got a yellow flag out there at the chicane, so whether or not someone's stuck down there.
Could be for conditions as well. We might not see a car parked down in the little gully there between turn 3 and turn 4. Well, how big a lead can she pull? Well, last time around, Zoe Woods 1:27.5. George Medicki 1:32.0. That's a whole 5 seconds of lap time difference between the TechWorks Porsche and the Medicki Motorsport car, and off in the background, that's the Tough Lift car. So they were in the pit lane to put wet weather tyres on.
That's Nerwin gone around. And is he
16th position as well?
Is he stuck there on the mound potentially?
Now, what TechWorks don't want is a safety car, because that will give everyone a free kick to put wets on and negate the gamble that they've taken. Right now, they want this to stay green. They would love nothing more than the McLaren to fire back into life.
Well, they might not put wets on because I think the rain is starting to ease, Crailsey. So it could be a case of if we do go to safety car, they might just try and tough it out potentially. So a safety car, like you said, would be disastrous for the 210 machine. But up until this point, this has worked out perfectly for them.
5.5 seconds in under a lap, the leading margin for Zoe Woods. That's why she wants this to stay green. She could pull 40 seconds before the pit stop if the rain continues to fall and the slick tyre stops taking an advantage. So, 3 laps complete. Zoe Woods leads by a huge margin over George Medicki. Max Gagan back up to 3rd after wasn't a real full spin, it looked like. It was sort of half a spin down at turn 1 running wide with big oversteer. The McLaren's still parked there, and now he goes safety car. So Gagan up to 3rd. He just got past Jake Camilleri there in the Mobil 1 Mustang. Walker has charged up through the field from 14th position to 6th in the BMW. We touched on him on the formation lap. He's leading the AM class, and he's just passed Tim Lay. Smolin, Lewis, Quinn and Lockie Hennock round out the top 10. This is why we're behind the control now of the BMW M safety car. And just spinning into view will be Glenn Nerwin in the Tough Lift car that he shares with Zach Suter. These two met in TCR Australia Series and have continued their partnership into a McLaren in Monochrome GT4.
Yeah, just lost it on his own there on the way in and just got bogged. There's quite a mound there, Crailsey, and if you're going to make a mistake, if you know you're going to go on long and miss the corner, you just try and avoid it as soon as possible, because you've seen cars get air in the past, but nothing he could have really done there. Spun on the way in. And how are the teams going to play this? Because if you do decide to pit for a wet tyre, it's not going to count as your compulsory pit stop, so you're going to have to pit again anyway. So I think they're going to want to try and brave it out. And the safety car is just going to neutralise the field, bunch them up. This just will not work to the advantage of Zoe Woods. As is that a Mercedes down there? Is that Aratoon? That might be Aratoon down stuck at, I think, turn 2, 3 ditch as well. So must have been maybe a similar thing run on along at turn 2. But yeah, this safety car, unfortunately, not really working in the favour of Zoe Woods. Rusty?
Thomas, both Stubbsy and I have been wandering the lane getting a little bit of info, so we'll go back to back here with some news. I've mainly focused on AR19 Motorsport, and they've even within their group gone different directions. So Fabian Coulthard down here this weekend helping. He made the decision based on what he saw before the start of this race, the feeling in the air and so on, to change his driver to wet weather tyres. But at the other end, Luke King, who's raced in TCR and more, he's on the headset. He said, no, I reckon this is going to dry up. Let's stay on slick. So Mark Griffith is on slick. So even within teams, there's been differences of opinion on the way we go about this. Chris?
Rusty, it's a fascinating situation, isn't it? So just to clarify those names that are on the wets, we know Zoe Woods, of course, Nikolovsky as well. Keep an eye on Newman, Hansford, also on Glenn Newman, who you've discussed, and Tony Quinn. So they're the ones that we've seen come in already and go on to the wets. But as we speak, the sun comes out right now. Add to this, yesterday blowing a gale, drying the track out quite quickly with the wind. Today, right now, hardly a puff of wind as the number 9 of Ferguson Berryman into the lane at the moment.
Thank you, Stubbsy. And just to put a full stop on that, the cars that swapped to wets on the formation lap, the leading car of that group is Ryan Hansford in 12th position in the multi-spares Mustang. So they were one of the cars that stopped on that formation lap to put the wet weather tyre on, and he's come up from 24th position when the green flag dropped to 12th. So there's a massive lap time advantage, and Zoe Woods was 5 seconds a lap quicker than George Miedeke pulling away there. So this safety car is helping those that have elected to stay on a slick tyre, and it's probably hurting the TechWorks car that went onto that wet, because it's removing that opportunity for them, Thomas, to build that margin and take advantage of the conditions while they've got them.
You notice that all the cars that are weaving, everyone on slick tyres, and Zoe Woods are only just starting to weave now, because if you're on a wet tyre, you want to keep that thing as cool as possible. And just looking at the radar, I think that's most of the rain gone. As Stubbsy pointed out, the sun's out. So now, from this point on, the track's only just going to get drier and drier. And if you're on a wet tyre, you're going to need to probably change back to a slick tyre. But if you're already on the slicks, this is where this safety car has come out perfectly for those that are on the slick tyre. And it's going to work out in the favour of Miedeke and Gagan, who got back up into position number 3 after that spin at turn 1. So anyone who's on slicks won't have to change tyres.
So if you're TechWorks now and you're Zoe Woods and you've got Nash Morris to come, what you're hoping for is that it doesn't rain, the track dries out. In 10 minutes or so, we're going to pit for our mandatory pit stop to put Nash Morris in. You're hoping the crossover point there is ready for slick tyres, aren't you? That you can take that gamble to put a slick on for the end of the race.
Yeah, because it takes a lot longer to change 4 tyres during a pit stop as well. So whenever we get back underway, I don't think it'll be too far away if she can somehow build up a buffer while the track is still a bit wet. So the sun's only just popping out now. Because the cars are going so slow, they're not really drying the track up, and this is where on the restart she's going to have to try and make up some ground and pray that there isn't another safety car, because I think Crailsey, they're going to have to go back to the slick tyre if they can hold out for the pit stop.
There's certainly nothing behind that band of weather that's just passed across the racetrack, sweeping across Port Phillip Bay and towards this part of Melbourne. But yeah, how quickly does this racetrack dry? And haven't we seen so many moments this morning in all of the other categories here at the Shannons Speed Series, putting wheels on wet curbs or painted lines and having moments and firing themselves off the road. And then there's puddles like that that end up as well. The Ford Ranger Raptor recovery vehicle has been hard at work and has recovered the Mercedes AMG that was parked down at turn 3. The BMW M safety car is out, and we shouldn't be too far away from a resumption of play. The hard-working volunteers will make sure the track is clean and ready to go, and we'll go back to racing with Woods leading Miedeke and Max Gagan. Jake Camilleri in the mix. Walker in the BMW, that's been a pretty stirring little drive, making up for yesterday's drama.
Absolutely, yeah. I just wanted to touch on the pit stop time. So the mandatory pit stop time, if you don't have any extra compensation time, Crailsey, from pit entry to pit exit, is 110 seconds. Now, if you've got to change tyres due to the case of adherence or weather, which we're seeing now, the minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit is 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So that's a further, well, that's an extra, what,
to full lap.
Correct. So 2 minutes 25 seconds, that's 145 seconds. So that's another 35 seconds on top of that. So she's going to have to build up a pretty big lead here.
But the question is, we saw Zoe being 5 seconds a lap quicker than anybody in those brief green flag laps we had at the start. Is it worth burning that for the sake of the lap time? But if you're still out there on wets and it's bone dry by the end of the race with 25 cars on the racetrack, it will dry relatively quickly. You will tumble down the order quicker than anything.
Yeah, so at this point in time, it's a tough one for the TechWorks team. That's where this safety car has hindered them a little bit. And just, I wonder what the conditions are like now, because the rain has stopped. The sun's just trying to peek out from the clouds. And as we see the recovery vehicle taking back, that's the Aratoon Mercedes, the Money Me Mercedes. Just getting stuck down there at between turns 2 and 3. And Nerwin, we saw, got caught on the curb. He's back up and running, albeit 2 laps down. But yeah, this is going to be tough for those that are on wet tyres, which is, as we know, our race leader, Zoe Woods. And it's going to be a tough one. Like we said, they're going to have to change tyres and that extra time in the lane. They don't have an extra compensation time, but another 35 seconds, it's mandatory if you're going to change tyres in the lane.
Just want to talk about Zoe Woods and the performance that she's been putting in this season. I would argue that if there's an award for most improved this season, she's probably taken the biggest step up of everyone, working closely with Nash Morris, and they're great buddies as well. Zoe has had a huge leap forward. She's worked extremely hard on her fitness in the last 24 months as well. So she's in great racing shape, very switched on from a business point of view as well. She owns a salon up on the Gold Coast, involved in the TechWorks Motorsport operation as well, that team running in Porsche Painted Dixon Carrera Cup Australia and Sprint Challenge, one make Porsche racing as well. And she's taken a huge leap forward this weekend, this season, I should say, working with Nash, and a couple of really stirring performances. So this will be another little confidence boost, but knowing how competitive she is, this will be frustrating as well, because right now, if it wasn't under safety car, she'd be leading by 20 seconds. And now she's watching the racetrack dry on a wet tyre. Safety car will be in this time by. I'm
just wondering if the Glenn Walker BMW may have elected to start on wet tyres as well, potentially, because I'm not seeing a lot of weaving from that car and taking an untraditional line, just trying to get some...
Well, just explain that. Why would you not weave when you've got a wet weather tyre on a drying racetrack?
So normally what you do when you've got a slick tyre on is, or if it was still raining, you'd be weaving, but the weaving and braking, all those sorts of things, is to get temperature, tyre temperature, to make sure they're ready to go on a restart. But we're not really seeing a lot of weaving from this car, so just wondering whether or not he's on a wet tyre. It's hard to tell, but yeah, not a lot of weaving from that car.
Brother, looking closer at the TV isn't going to help you there either.
But I can tell you that the safety car will be in this lap, and Zoe Woods will take control of the field. How wet the track is right now, we're about to find out in about 30 seconds time.
With all the experience of George Miedeke in the Lubramax Mustang behind, how's the variety? There's the McLaren Artura turbocharged V6, another Mustang, the BMW of Walker, Tim Lane, the big BMW, and then the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4, Shane Smolin in front of Chris Lillis, who had such a good performance yesterday. They were half a lap away from their first class victory in Monochrome GT4, and they had a tyre go on that car in really challenging conditions and limped the car home to the end. So frustrating for the West Aussies. And then in the mix as well, Tony Quinn's behind the wheel of the Game Over Toyota Supra. There he is, just in behind him, Lockie Hennock in the second of the Method Motorsport McLaren Arturas, and then Daniel Price in the Nippy's Audi R8. So the big V10 sports car just outside the top 10. Green flag flies. We're back underway and racing at Sandown in Monochrome GT4 Australia.
Nice restart there from Zoe Woods. Got the power down on those wet tyres. And what sort of lead can she get before the pit window opens? As Gagan having a look on Miedeke at turn 1, can't get it done. Those slick tyres are going to be a struggle into the first turn. So far, the first, is that a move from?
Smolin got up the inside of Tim Lay. So a battle here, the Porsche going around the outside. He said on the grid that the Porsche's a good wet weather package. It's really stable. Tim Lay's car isn't oversteering all over the place, trying to put all the torque The turbocharged 6-cylinder power to the ground. Walker pulls out in a straight line. That's definitely on wets, that car. That's a huge amount of traction out of turn 4 to get past a guy with the talent of Jake Camilleri. So Walker up now, and he's going to do the same to Maxi Gagan, and off the road is Price in the Nippy's Audi.
That could be potentially another safety car if he can't get it out of there. But you know who struggled on this restart? Maxi Gagan. He was right in behind Mediki as Walker goes down the inside. Yeah, you've got to assume he's on a wet tyre there. But Gagan was right in behind Mediki on the restart out of turn 1.
Well, and that was the example, that side-on shot. The moment they both gripped up, Walker's car gripped up way more than the McLaren, and he just drove past in a straight line. So it's definitely on a wet. He drives through, drive-through penalty, car number 5 for a start procedure breach.
That's Nathan Murray in the Morris Finance BMW.
So the only thing I can think of there is potentially out of order or some overlapping before they got to the control line will be the two most obvious ones. We'll qualify that for you, so they'll have to serve a drive-through penalty and lose 30 seconds. First green flag lap of racing. Zoe back out in front now by 5.7 seconds. Mediki, then Walker, Gagan, Camilleri and Quinn next. Up the inside though.
There is a yellow flag out, so...
Yeah, so he probably shouldn't have made that move. I wouldn't have thought Ryan Hansford on Tony Quinn. So we're seeing the Price Audi on the escape road doing a little U-turn there, going against the flow. And while that was going on, Ryan Hansford got up the inside of Tony Quinn and got that spot. Now remember, the multi-spares Mustang is on a wet tyre. They pitted on the formation lap to throw wets at this car and drop right to the back of the field. And now the very experienced Queenslander is charging his way back towards the front. Meanwhile, Walker closing on the back of Mediki for second and third on the road. Zoe's 8.1 seconds up the road. No question the wet's the tyre to have right now. The question is, will it be the tyre to have in 33 minutes and 43 seconds to go?
Yeah, she's just got to keep extending that lead. The bigger the lead, the better the chances that they will have. Now, they don't have any extra pit stop, or they don't have any pit stop compensation times, unlike the 35 of Mediki, the 87 of Summer Rintoul and Jared Hughes, and the 25 machine of Gagan. So there's the move now. Walker going down the inside of Mediki, and if I was Mediki, I would just wave the white flag, as we've just seen on our timing screens. A drive-through penalty for car 9. That is the Toyota Supra that we saw pit for wet weather tyres under that safety car, and they were the class winners yesterday. So I'm not sure what's happened there.
Breach of pit stop penalty procedures. So you alluded to the fact that you need to spend more time in the lane when you're changing tyres, irrespective of it being a mandatory pit stop or not. So I wonder if that's what they've been pulled up on. And
there's that Mercedes in the background that also pitted for wets. That's Newman. So he pitted on the formation lap as well, like the multi-spares Ford Mustang. So that's working a real treat for them at the moment. However, what's going to happen with the track conditions, because the rain has stopped. The track's still damp, still wet. You can still see a bit of spray, but there is 25, 26 GT4 cars out there trying to dry the track up, and I feel like none of the slick tyre runners will be having to change to a wet, but the wet tyre runners going to have to go to a slick.
Or you run the risk of running your Pirelli wet weather tyre down to a slick by the end of it, but you're going to be right at the back of the field. Big drive for Ryan Hansford, who now is up to third position and sets the quickest lap of the race. But 12 seconds away, and around and parked in the middle of the road, and the debris on the racetrack and the damage to the car indicates there's been an accident, and it's found the Armco on the run up the hill towards turn 6.
And just as that happened, Crailsey, we've got safety car, but the pit window opened right before the safety car came out. So everyone's, well, they're going to have to pit, aren't they, the leaders? But what's going to happen? Are they going to change tyres? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, that's the gamble, isn't it? Into the lane, the game over car. Now, this was one of the cars that stopped on the formation lap to put wets on. Started on a slick, put wets on. So too did the tough lift car. This was Glenn Nerwin who had the spin down at turn 2. Zach Suter will take over, a front runner in TCR Australia competition with Team Suter Racing, based out of Geelong, basically on the other side of the bay from where we are now. They've built themselves a really good race team. Tony Quinn's in the lane. Tim Lay is in the lane. We'll hand over to Cody Birchett. Lockie Hennock is in the lane. Summer Rintol. So Hughes will take over the 888 Mercedes AMG. Jason Gomersall in the lane. Aaron Seaton to take over the Ford Mustang. And there's the Audi that had the off down at turn 2. This was the car third in their class yesterday. Marcus Liddell and Jared Kite, the 99 Motorsport Ford Mustang. And car number 19, Griffo, has recovered. So if it was an accident, it wasn't a massive one, and he's been able to select first gear and drive away. So this won't be a lengthy safety car. So if you haven't pitted now, it could be quite costly.
But that's hurting. Well, I think that was Lawrence that was stuck behind him, so that's hurting him. And what's interesting is that half the pit window opened and the safety car came out as for only the second half of the field. So the top half of the field had already gone past the pit entry before the pit window opened. But
this is the kind of race that gives everyone in race timing and race control a massive ice cream headache, and all the leaders have pitted too. So Zoe Woods is in the lane. You can see the TechWorks car, the Ryder Quinn, Steve Jackick BMW just in front. Medeki's in, Gagan in, Smollen, Lillis, Lawrence and Newman.
They don't look like they're in a hurry to change the tyres. They look like they were just doing a tyre pressure adjustment.
I think at this point you have to commit to being on the wet tyre, because the crossover point was nowhere near being reached. Zoe Woods was still 3 or 4 seconds a lap quicker than George Medeke just before they pitted.
Yeah, this is a tough call, because anyone that's on a slick, I would say, is not going to go to a wet. But
that's on a slick. The Audi's on a slick.
But if you're on a wet tyre, are you going to change to a dry and cop the extra time in the pits? Because if you're going to lose extra time, now is the time when the field is going a bit slower. So there's Walker and Hansford. So we know they're on a wet tyre, but they're going to have to still pit anyway for their mandatory pit stop.
Correct. So they are yet to stop. That's why the safety car has picked them up, and then they will, you'd imagine, pull into pit lane. The problem is you lose a lap pitting here with a minute 10 minimum pit stop. These cars doing 110 second pit stop, so it's almost 2 minutes. It's a minute 30, minute 25 in wet weather conditions for a lap here. So the leaderboard is going to be quite scrambled after this, and they're going to have to do some work to make sure everyone's reordered and in the right place when we go back to green flag racing.
So we know Medeke, Summer Rintle and the 25 machine of Gagan, they all had extra pit stop compensation time, so they're serving that. Now, that was a bit awkward there, because I think, was that the 25 waiting at pit exit? I don't know whether there might have been a red light on.
The safety car was just going past, so they would have had the red light on to wait for them to rejoin.
So we're just having a look now here.
It's going to take some time for this to shuffle out, folks, and we sort of rely on the computer timing as much as you do the graphics on the screen. So it'll all level itself out. In pit lane for the third time today is the GWR Australia Supra. Daniel Frugas and Tim Berryman after a great performance yesterday. There's Jake Camilleri's Ford Mustang. Through all of this, Nash Morris should be leading the race. They had track position, they were out in front, and they bailed into pit lane quickly. So the TechWorks Porsche is still going to be in a really good position. Behind that, your guess is as good as mine at the moment. Matt McCutcheon, I should say, should have got a bunch of ground. They were one of the early stoppers in the game over Supra. The fast young Kiwi who raced with Tony Quinn at Queensland Raceway last year. He's part of the Tony Quinn Foundation. That is the game over car, second in queue behind the BMW M safety car.
I'm just curious how they're going to play this, because we're just trying to look for where the Nash Morris car actually is on the road, because that's the Murray car, isn't it? That's the Morris Finance number 5 of Murray. So they're...
Let's hear a little bit more about this. His car's in a really good position. He's just jumped out. Tony Quinn speaking to Greg Rust.
He's just asked me if his hair was okay for the interview. You know, Crailsey, they're always going to be entertaining, these ones. What was that stint like? And the decision by the crew to come in so early for those tyres was obviously key.
I'm not sure if it was a decision by the crew. I was saying, I'm not fucking staying out here.
Apologies for the language.
Apologies, that's a Scottish word. But no, we just took the punt, because really, I've seen the prize money, and it's not worth taking that much risk for. But so it was too bad for slicks in the beginning, but then it's drying up. But we should be all right. because the track's still damp, it's not dry, and I think we'll be all right. I mean, we won't be fast, but we'll be consistent.
Quickly, nice to see the Supra showing, you know, some good form at this round, and you've continued that trend of giving youngsters a run here. Nice to see young Matt McCutcheon getting some more seat time.
Yeah, he's a great kid. They're all good kids, and Matt obviously works for me at QR, and he's just a great human being, mate. And I hope he gets a good result, because I've set it up for him, you know. Like,
of course you have. Thank you for talking to us.
What I love about interviews with TQ is you never quite know what you're going to get. Could be comedy, could be serious, could be some really good life advice, which he often doles out. Could be a decent history of his life, which you can read, by the way, in 0 to 60, his autobiography, the second edition out now. It's on all good booksellers online. Jump on board. I think the V8 Sleuth Bookshop's got it. It's a ripper read, warts and all, of Tony Quinn's incredible journey, and especially in the last couple of years, his purchase of Queensland Raceway up at Ipswich, Hampton Downs, where this series will conclude its championship as well. It is very much worth the lead. Now, the BMW M safety car has gathered the entire field. Peter Lawrence has just pitted, so he was the race leader but was yet to stop. And now what will happen is that our understanding is the race leader will be Nash Morris in car 210. It's right at the very back of the queue, coming into shot. So 2 cars from the back there is the little Porsche 718 Cayman. So Motorsport Australia Race Control have done this before, and they did it at Queensland Raceway, did a nice job where they just held the safety car out to let the field sort itself out. Then they'll do a wave by and get the leader in behind the safety car for the restart. And just be a little bit patient to make sure the order's right before they go racing. But our timing, as does the totem left of screen, shows Nash Morris as the leader, but essentially a full lap.
Well, what's interesting is that, so car 5, they're 2 laps down. They're actually 2 laps down, or a lap down if it was fully green. So that car should be waved by anyway. And then looking at our timing screen, after that, if you rule the car 5 out, the next car that's behind, I believe, is Lawrence, the 33. Then there's McCutcheon and Bircher. So there's the Supra there. That's McCutcheon, the 101 machine. So number 5, car 5, the Morris car, is actually a lap down anyway. So then it's the 101. That needs to get through, because it'll be the 101 followed by Bircher, Heyman, and they all need to really, that whole train up until Nash Morris needs to get around and get back on the field. But this is what Race Control will be working through. Everyone has pitted, so we should be effectively back as a proper order very shortly.
And look at the cars on wets just bailing across to the inside, still looking for a bit of water, and the bright sunshine that we've got here at the moment isn't going to be helping things. So we're hearing the safety car might be in this lap, so they might just let them go.
Hang on a sec, that doesn't make sense if they're going to turn the lights out, because
we'll get an understanding on all of this. It's a pretty complex scenario to work out the leaderboard. What we know is that Nash Morris is leading the race, which is fair because they pitted from the race lead. They'd earned that lead, started on wets, rolled the dice, and that could, regardless of whether they stay on a wet or a slick tyre, it could give them a victory if they do go back to racing, because they're going to be a massive, massive way in front of all bar 4 cars.
Correct. So the last car at the end of the train is Aaron Cameron, but he's 4th outright, and he's only, 2 seconds behind the race leader. But they've picked up car 5, who was 2 laps down, and he hasn't got the wave by. The lights are out now, and we've got 85% of the field.
Well, they may have just made the decision of like, well, you pitted when you pitted. That was the roll of the dice, and this is how it's played out. Regardless, we'll get some answers on this for you folks as we play this one out. Confusing circumstances. So the car leading, I use that in inverted commas, the car in front of this pack, is 2 laps down, but it's 16-year-old Jay Murray. This is his first race meeting in a racing car this weekend. He's had some track days and some practice days, but he has never raced before this weekend. Now, we might be a couple of laps down. Regardless, he finds himself leading a pack. Some of them will be pretty fired up about this scenario as well. To green flag here at Sandown. McElroy Racing run this team. They have big raps on this young guy. he's going to get some experience really quickly. Behind him, Matt McCutcheon, who's going to have to hustle and get by Cody Birch as well. So the 101 Supra, the Game Over Supra, is 6th position in the race, but essentially a full lap down.
Well, he's going to get blue flags immediately, really, Crailsy, because Jet Murray's a lap down. So it'll be green flag wave, and then if he can't pull away, he's going to get blue flags because, like you said, the car behind Matt McCutcheon, he's 6th outright, but he's effectively a lap behind. That whole train of cars are nearly going to be a lap down. So I don't really understand what's taken place, and there's Murray getting out of the way, and it's just going to be blue flags galore really for that BMW.
So some of them struggled to get it stopped down there, and for all of the drivers essentially on the grid, this is their first opportunity in racing conditions at speed, so they've all jumped into the car behind the wheel, behind the safety car conditions.
So the pit stops are done now. The pit window is closed. The only reason anyone would pit now is if there's an issue of any of the cars. So this is effectively how we look, which is quite unique, to be honest.
And in all the messaging going on up and down pit lane, a lot of teams blowing up about the fact that they believe there should have been a wave through. Regardless, we're back to racing. And the scenario is that Nash Morris will lead the race, and there are 5 cars, essentially a full lap in front of the field as they go wheel to wheel back in the pack. Jay Murray has done a nice job avoiding all of that and just settling himself into a race groove among some really heavy hitters in the sport, because Rylan Gray is there in the Lubramax Mustang. He's got Lockie Dalton just behind him, his Tickford Racing teammate, coming off the back of a remarkable result for that team in Super 2 racing. Those two boys were both involved in that 1, 2, 3, 4 up in the streets of Townsville. They're rivals today. Tom Heyman is in there. Jared Hughes is in there. Nathan Callahan too in the Porsche in front of Cameron Crick in his Ford Mustang.
So that's for position 8. This is actually the battle for position 8, which kind of looks like it's a battle for 3rd or 4th, but it is for 8th, and that's the 75 machine, which I think they're actually a lap down, yep. 2 laps down. So what's interesting to note, Crailsy, is that 2nd, 3rd and 4th in this race, Cameron, Walker, Camilleri, they all pitted before the race began, before we got under green, when the safety car was still in the warm-up lap. So they've gone from the back of the field to the front and essentially 90% of a lap ahead of the field. And there is our race leader here. And if you just looked at the train, you'd think they're in about 12th spot, but that is actually our race leader. And right in behind, so that's Nash Morris, and then a couple of cars behind is Aaron Cameron. So Nash doesn't need to take any risks here, because the car that he's battling on track with Cameron Crick, but he's 14th. So this is a little bit confusing, I've got to say, Crailsy.
Stubbsy.
Well, what we do know is that the race lead is held by Zoe Woods and Nash Morris as the field goes past. Zoe, that decision to go on to the wets, it's paid dividends, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's paid off, which is great. We weren't sure, and everyone else went slick, so we took the gamble and went wets, and when we were sitting out on the grid and it started raining, our decision paid off there. So great work by the team and their decision.
I was going to say, Paul the Dude Morris, of course, Bathurst champion and icon of motorsport in this country, is here. He's got the headset on. Are you going to claim that it was your call to go on the wets, or who actually made that decision?
I'll make it that it was a team decision. I had no say in it, really. I just went with what the best decision at the time was, and all the team had the great backing and all the data behind it, really. The rain was coming, so that's what we went with.
Now, yesterday it was a mixed bag, wasn't it? A bit of contact, and you were on the receiving end of a unlucky outcome, I guess we could say, for you. But today this would mean the world to you and the team, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd mean the world to me and the team, and especially Dad at home. He hasn't been very well lately, so this would be the icing on the cake for him, and to give him a trophy when we get home would be amazing.
Yeah, well said. He is an absolute legend. We love him, and we love having him here in the paddock. At the moment, the sun is out. Are you concerned about how quickly this track might dry? What's Nash saying?
Oh, it was quite wet out there, so I'm not really concerned. Fingers crossed it's cold enough. There's not a lot of wind, so fingers crossed it stays wet out there. But can't make the decision yet.
So we will let you go, get back to the family, go and do it for Dad and for yourself and the team.
Thank you. Hi, Dad.
Thanks, Stubbsy, with Zoe Woods. I can confirm that Rob is back at home on the Gold Coast, and not enjoying life as a spectator on the couch at the moment. Big stress city. He's under fairly strict orders to remain fairly low-key at the moment. I'm not sure he'll be managing that particularly well. Regardless, Nash Morris is behind the wheel and doing a good job. So just to put the full stop on this for you, with a little bit of confusion about the order on the race restart. Car 210, that Porsche, leads the race. That car, the multi-spares Ford Mustang, is second in the race. Nash Morris, Super 2 racer, running at the front of the field in that championship, is behind the wheel of the Porsche. Aaron Cameron, Supercars racer for Blanchard Racing, is behind the wheel of the Ford Mustang. That is the battle for the lead. They are 1.3 seconds apart. Yes, they are at the back of the queue, but this is the race win between these two cars. Porsche versus Ford. They're both on a wet tyre. They're hoping it stays wet enough for them to nurse that Pirelli for another 15.5 minutes to get to the end.
And in third place is Jake Camilleri on his debut this weekend in a Ford Mustang, and he's actually just been on our timing screens overtaken by Walker. Sorry, it's just reset. So yeah, he's third, about 10.8 seconds further adrift of Aaron Cameron. So like you touched on, Krause, that is the battle for the lead between the TechWorks Porsche and the Ford Mustang of Aaron Cameron, the multi-spares Ford. So they're just going through turn 4 now, and there's a couple of cars in between them. And then we've got, if you go after car, the 5th place car, which is Lawrence, there's a minute to 6th place.
Yeah, and right now Cody Bircher is the fastest driver on the racetrack, and last time by was about 3 seconds quicker than the actual race leaders. But he's a minute behind the race lead. He's 62 seconds behind Nash Morris. Just the way this is all played out with the restart in a confusing Monochrome GT4 Australia race, but there's competition still all through the field. A couple of McLarens going at it. The tough lift car looking to make some positions. They're a lap down with Zach Suter behind the wheel, getting past the Method Motorsport 25 car that coming into this weekend was the championship leader. So Tom Heyman in 11th position. Ryland Gray a couple of spots in front in 9th in the battle for the Silver Class championship lead.
So Nash Morris has just set the fastest lap of the race for their car, a 1:18.7. Meanwhile, the slick tyre runners are in the 16s, so they're like 2 seconds a lap faster. The problem they have is that they're over a minute behind with only 13 minutes remaining. So even though the Zoe Woods Morris cars on wets, as is the Cameron machine and Camilleri and Walker, they've got that 1 minute advantage on the rest of the field. So to try and make up a minute in time with 13 minutes remaining is a pretty tough ask. So that's the car we're following now, the 210 TechWorks Porsche. So they're getting slower effectively. This has not been a personal best lap so far, albeit with traffic, but Jared Hughes, who's in position 10 outright, he's on to set a personal best lap and currently has the fastest lap of the race with a 15.2. So nearly 3 seconds a lap faster than what they're doing on the wets.
Well, the other advantage that TechWorks have got and Nash Morris has got, the Porsche, very light on its feet, nimble, lightweight little race car, and into pit lane goes Aaron Cameron. Are they going to roll the dice and put slicks on? They're going to blow an enormous amount of track position by doing so. Team will be on to that. The point I was going to make, come to your update in just a second, Thomas. The point I was going to make is that the Porsche is so good on its tyres. It's lightweight, it's nimble, it will look after the wets better than the Ford Mustang.
So they're actually in the pits because they've got a stop and go penalty with a 35-second hold for a pit stop procedure. So they were under the minimum pit stop time for the tyre change, which was completed before the race went green. So, yeah, as much as we thought it was a master stroke, that pit stop procedure being under the minimum time has been so costly because they were in the running for not only the race win, but they had a minute essentially on most of the field.
The irony of this is, Thomas, they're still going to be somewhere in the top 10. The pack's just going past them now. Normally a drive-through would drop you right to the very back of the field. He's rejoined. He crossed the timing line in 8th position. He'll drop another couple of spots as a result. But
however, he's on the wet tyre though, so he's going to lose more ground.
Well, now he's wheel to wheel with cars on a slick, and he's going to get well, it would be 3 or 4 seconds a lap slower. Jared Hughes at 15.2 last time round, the race leader, and 18.7. But Hughesy's still 65 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, so Ryland Gray now up into the top 6, courtesy of the pit stop penalty for Aaron Cameron. So be keen to see what times Cameron can do on the wet tyre. But last time round, Nash Morris on a wet 19.2. Camilleri was a 16.9 in the Ford, so closing up the gap there, and we'll just see what the most of the slick tyre runners will do. They're just going through the middle sector now. We'll keep you updated on that, but this is the Walker machine. Car number 14, third outright and first in class. And Peter Lawrence is in behind, 2.5 seconds. There he is, the number 33 BMW. So a 15 flat for Cody Bircher, a 14.6 for Ryland Gray. So they're 4.5 seconds faster than what Nash Morris has just done on those very hot and getting very old wet tyres. So this is going to be very interesting, albeit 10 minutes remaining. Is it enough time, Crailsy?
Well, with the little refresh of the racetrack, they're almost in lap record territory. Jared Hughes set the GT4 lap record here yesterday, the 1 minute 13.7 in the Mercedes AMG. So they're less than a second away from the fastest these cars have ever gone in racing conditions at Sandown. Morris by 3.9 seconds over Jake Camilleri, who's now second in both silver and indeed outright. Walker still leads the AM class in front of Peter Lawrence, who's second. The silver AM leader is Matt McCutcheon behind the wheel of the 101 Toyota Supra. He's 8th on the road in front of Aaron Cameron, who served that penalty. So Cameron and Hansford here could still very much be on for a podium finish. They're only 4 seconds behind McCutcheon, potentially a win in class, despite having served that 35-second stop and hold penalty in pit lane.
Yeah, well, that's where that whole safety car has helped, because they got that minute free kick, essentially, as there's Nash Morris going down the inside on one of the Money B Mercedes. And just have a look at the lap times here. So just the first sector alone, 2 seconds slower than Ryland Gray.
Well, the other interesting thing here, Camilleri is catching Morris, and he's catching him relatively quickly. He's pulled a second out of him this lap. So the battle for the race lead is between these two cars, not just the outright lead, but in the silver class as well. So Morris versus Camilleri, a couple of well-known Queensland motor racing family names, are going to battle for this one. It's 0.3 of a second. There's the Mobil 1 Mustang. Camilleri's first crack at GT4 in this car. He swapped out from the Mercedes AMG that ended up parked against the concrete wall at Queensland Raceway. He found about the only unpredicted bit of wall there. He's going to go up the inside of Morris for the race lead. With 8 minutes to go, the Mustang hits the front now.
Yeah, Morris has got nothing now. Those tyres are completely cooked, those wet tyres. And lapping around about 4.5 seconds slower than what the slick tyre runners are doing. So just looking at Cody Bircher in 5th, 14.8 last time round, and a 14.3 for Ryland Gray in 6th, a 13.5 for Jared Hughes.
Lap record.
Wow.
Lap record, and he's gone from being 65 seconds behind the lead to 48. And right now is lapping 4 seconds a lap quicker than the race leaders. He's going to run out of minutes, unfortunately. But he is hauling his way up to the field. Ryland Gray's also made some moves and is going quickly. And he's up to 6th position, chasing Cody Bircher in the BMW.
Jared Hughes is on another flying lap here as well. Purple Sector 1 once again. So he got the lap record yesterday with a 13.7. He's eclipsed that so far with a 13.5. And Nash Morris, a 120.1. So over 6 seconds a lap slower than what Jared Hughes just achieved. And we've got 7 minutes to go. Is that enough time for these guys to catch the 210 TechWorks Porsche?
Well, it's so much for the Porsche looking after its tyre, and it is light on its feet and nimble, but those tyres have been on since the very start of this race an hour ago. Here is the fastest moving thing in the Dandenong region of Victoria at the moment. Jared Hughes is about to go around the line. He didn't quite break the lap record again for the 3rd lap in succession, but still in the 13s.
I'm wondering if Camilleri's on a slick, because you're looking at Morris, Lawrence and Walker all set roughly a 30-second in the first sector alone, and they're all lapping around about that 19-20 lap time. But definitely 5th onwards are on slicks, and just looking at the lap times now, and they're all making ground. They're going to run out of time. Stubbsy?
Just talking to the team down here, and yes, Jake is on slicks. Big smile on the face. They pitted behind the leaders, so everything has come to them quite nicely.
Yeah, okay, thanks for the update, Chris. That was our biggest question mark over that. So that explains the performance differential between the Mobil 1 Mustang and the TechWorks Porsche. So there's absolutely nothing Flash could do. Camilleri going through on a slick tyre versus the dry, and he's 4 seconds a lap quicker at the moment, the Mustang.
Yeah, so just looking at the timing now, so Nash has about 30 seconds on the first of the dry runners behind him, and with 5.5 minutes to go, I think he might get a little lucky here in terms of running out of lap time, running out of laps, I should say. There is the TechWorks Porsche. Really nothing he could do. Once they got nothing left, that's it. He's just got to hang on, because those wet tyres have done so much work. They've done 27 laps, and I'd say probably 20 of them have been in fairly dry conditions. So he's doing the best he can, trying to take the most unconventional lines here that you'd see in a dry running, just to keep some temp out of those wet tyres, as Hughes is on another faster lap. Fastest first sector, a 27.5 in sector 1, just to compare that to Nash Morris, a 30.3. So 3 seconds alone slower in the first sector. So Nash crosses the line now, and it's a 1:20.0, and compare that to Jake Camilleri, a 15.9 last time by.
Doing all he can. This team climbed to 4th in the championship after yesterday. They're a point in front of the 888 Mercedes AMG. This will be their best finish of the season if he can bring it home in 2nd place. They've had a couple of P3s so far in the silver class this year. Still looking for that maiden victory. Speaking of maiden victories, Jake Camilleri yet to win both in class or outright in Monochrome GT4 Australia. So this could be a big moment. He switched to Ford Mustang this weekend. He's been racing a Mercedes AMG, but he did so because he wanted to be in the same machinery as his teammates at the Gomersall Motorsports squad. So Jason Gomersall and Aaron Seaton. Been easy for information transfer, set up information and data sharing between the two cars. And boy, hasn't it paid off. They made the right call as well to put this car on a slick Pirelli. And the hugely experienced Queenslander, ironically in the past, who has delivered some of his most stirring drives in wet conditions. Stalwart of production car racing, Jake Camilleri, and for a long time beat up on Evo Lancers and BMWs in a front-wheel drive turbocharged Mazda 3 production car, and often beat them at their own game as well. And absolutely loved playing the underdog against some of the heavy hitters in the world of Australian production car racing. So he's going to enjoy this.
Absolutely, and that could be Ford Mustangs winning 2 days in a row, with the Mediki grey car winning yesterday. And just looking at the timing screens, Cody Bircher now, I think, has just gone past Walker for 4th outright, and he has made the move. So the second of the slick runners, I should say. First of the slick runners being Camilleri, and then now we've got Bircher and Gray 4th, or Gray and Bircher 4th and 5th, and they're only 6 seconds back from Lawrence, who is also on a wet tyre. So we've just seen a bad sportsmanship flag come up for car 27, which is Aaron Cameron.
And Thomas, just to put a full stop, I've heard from Motorsport Australia Race Control about this safety car procedure. So because the safety car was called, the leader of the race was car number 14, so Glenn Walker, who was yet to stop. As per the safety car regulations and the sporting and technical regulations for Monochrome GT4 Australia, because the safety car train was formed with that car as the leader, once that car stopped and served his mandatory pit stop, the train was already formed, so they picked up the next car. So it wasn't about shuffling through to the race leader. The safety car train had already been formed, and that's as per the sporting and technical regulations. So they followed the letter of the rules for that. It might be a little bit confusing, but they followed the regulations, and that's why the race unfolded as it has. Regardless, Jake Camilleri doesn't worry about that right now. He's just got a couple of laps to go to deliver a maiden victory. We saw a shot of Pete Lawrence behind the wheel of the Randall Racing BMW 2. He's had a couple of seconds in the AM class this year, yet to have a race win. So not only is he P3 on the road, he's looking for a maiden victory for himself in the AM class. And Cameron Crick, after what's been a pretty challenging weekend for the D.A. Campbell Transport Racing Ford Mustang team in Silver Am. He and Dean Campbell are looking for a victory in class. They're 9th on the road, car 118.
And they were backwards on the second lap out of turn number 3. So
they're on for a class win. They've got Ryder Quinn chasing them down in the BMW, and actually Ryder is quite a lot quicker than that car at the moment, but he's got 3 or 4 seconds up his sleeve, Cam Crick.
Now Ryland Gray, Bircher and Hughes have all made it past Pete Lawrence. The gamble on the wet tyre to hold out for a top 3 outright hasn't paid off. However, he's still the leader in the AM class, and he has about 7 seconds over Glenn Walker. So this is going to be a cracking result for them. And Ryland Gray now in 3rd place overall. And just remember, when the safety car was called back in and we were back under green, they were a minute behind, and he's only 13 seconds off Nash Morris, but he's going to run out of time because there's only 20 seconds remaining in race number 2 of Monochrome GT4 Australia.
And actually, Nash's pace has improved in the last couple of laps. He's dropped back down into the 19s, was in the mid-20s for a while there, so as he's come to terms with the state of his Pirelli wets, which I think could go cheaply after this one set of extremely used Pirellis, having been abused for 30 minutes on a dry racetrack. He's managed to get that car going all right to bring it home in what will be 2nd place in race and class. Ryland Gray next, then Jared Hughes. Good points day for 888 Race Engineering. That team, he and Summer Rintoul just keep knocking out really solid top 4 or 5 results. Cody Bircher next. Lawrence leading the AM class. Heyman came into the weekend leading the championship, remember, Method Motorsport in the silver class, and they will surrender more points to this car, the Lubramax Ford Mustang. This is a battle for 3rd and 4th place, though. Jared Hughes has caught Ryland Gray and is putting the pressure on the Mustang.
Just want to make mention, the 48 Audi that got stuck down at turn 2 and unfortunately is now a couple of laps down. It's a sort of bit of a case of what could have been, because there's plenty of pace in that car. Blake Purdy, a 13.6, so only a 1/10 of a second away from what Hughes achieved, and so he's also under the lap record pace as well. So plenty of speed in that 48 Audi. Just a shame that they had that small off down at turn 2, and there's a nice battle between Gray and Hughes. Hughes is only 4/10 of a second behind Ryland Gray as the clock has gone to 0, and this may be the last lap of the race potentially. And what a story this will be for Jake Camilleri. Switch brands to Ford and going to take what's going to be his first outright win.
The Blue Oval has incredible heritage in this part of the world, and they're going to do the double at Sandown, and Jake Camilleri wins his first Monochrome GT4 Australia race.
And Nash Morris hangs on for 2nd place. Wow.
That is a huge drive from the TechWorks duo, who rolled the dice and went to a wet tyre for the start. They were the only team that did so. Here is the Porsche, their best result of the season so far. Morris limps across the line. There's Ryland Gray, got within 2.9 seconds of Morris. One more lap and Nash would have been off the podium. That's how quickly Gray and Hughes were chasing him down. Peter Lawrence wins the AM class, his first race win of the season in the Randall Racing BMW, backing up a win from his son, Jacob, yesterday. A good weekend for the Lawrence family on their home turf. And Cam Crick and Dean Campbell, how's that going to cars? Holy moly. Cam Crick wins the Silver Am class and holds out Ryder Quinn by a couple of seconds to get the Silver Am victory. After what's been a pretty torrid weekend for them, that's a very important win because it gets them right back into the championship fight in the Silver Am class. Well, that one had just about everything. Chuck the kitchen sink in for good value as well. Jake Camilleri gets his first win in Monochrome GT4 Australia. Congratulations to the Queenslander in very non-tropical conditions. Morrison Woods next. AM class winner Pete Lawrence, 7th on the road in the BMW. Silver Am, Cam Crick and Dean Campbell. Brand new lap record will go the way of Jared Hughes with a 1:13.5. Beats his own benchmark set yesterday in the 888 JGI Mercedes. Highlights now, and it started in the pouring rain, the Monochrome GT4 Australia Series, the 8th race of this compelling series. And from turn 1, it was crazy. Max Gagan backed it in, caught it in the end. It caused everyone to stack up and rack up behind him. And then they negotiated the wet conditions. 95% of the field on a slick Pirelli tyre at the start of the race.
Yeah, just in the background was when the Campbell Crick car went around, and there was the tough lift McLaren that got beach, brought out the safety car, which we thought was going to hinder the efforts from Zoe Woods, and we got back underway. And then we went to a safety car again, and then that just caused all sorts of confusion. There was the Nippies Audi, plenty of pace in that car, and grabbing a bit of debris there was the 14.
Yeah, Glenn Walker was
down the road, and that was the safety car, the 19 Money Me Mercedes of Griffith. Actually got that thing back to pit lane, but they called safety car. That was the confusion. The number 5 Murray BMW led us away, albeit a lap down, and then half the field, more than half the field, 80% of the field was effectively half a lap down.
This was the key moment of the race. Up the inside on a slick tyre versus a wet, Jake Camilleri got past the car that had led basically since the 3rd lap of the race. Zoe Woods, a great job early on, but Jake Camilleri took the lead and took the win, his first in Monochrome GT4 Australia. Let's celebrate this one, shall we? Here's Chris Stubbs.
There's been some big hugs and even bigger smiles down here. Jake Camilleri, you are a winner in Monochrome GT4 Australia. What does this mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. When this category started, that's what I wanted, the big challenge of coming in and running against some really good people, and it's just great. In my first weekend in the big Ford Mustang with Mobile 1 on it, so yeah, we had a awesome weekend. Straight from when it came out, it was fast, and yeah, it was just good strategy. Then we hung out on the slicks in the wet. We're thinking, no, it's too wet, but Simon said hang in there, and we did, and it dried up, and yeah, got the wet.
Congratulations, mate. You deserve this. Celebrated hard.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's bounce on down to Peter Lawrence, who is our winner in our AM class. Peter, if we can get you to spin around. Yes, a kiss is more important than chatting to me, Peter. I'll let you do that. You've got the Pirelli hat on. You're ready to go. What a weekend for the family. Jacob yesterday, and you today, first win of the season. Congratulations.
No, first win ever, mate. Broke the cherry, so that couldn't be more happy. The boys did well, planning on what we did and how we did it. So a little bit slippery out there. I was under pressure a little bit, but then we come good in the end. So, no, very happy. Number 1 for once.
That's the thing. A race like this, under these conditions, makes it even sweeter, doesn't it, for the team and for yourself?
Oh, it does, that's for sure. Like, we went out there, and then the rain, I sort of got memories of Queensland coming back, and the first few laps were a little bit skiddy out there, a bit slidey, but no, we sort of come good, and the boys just kept pushing, keep going, stopped whinging, keep talking, keep going. So, no, had a ball.
You get a trophy, you've got the kiss. We'll have the podium in a moment. Enjoy it.
No worries, good on you, thanks very much.
Let's move us on down then to Dean Campbell and Cameron Crick. We'll just jump on in. Sorry, they're having a bit of a debrief here, boys. Congratulations. Jump on in as well, Dino. That's been a pretty tough weekend at times, hasn't it, getting the pace out of the car? But, gee, it came to you there, didn't it? Well done. You must be pretty proud with how this one turned out.
Yeah, well, it's something about being at the back. I made a mistake over in 2 and 3 and spun the car around, and we started it back at the back, and this fella again, he comes all the way through the field, so maybe we just start there every weekend, I think.
I think not, right?
Yeah, we might as well not qualify, he reckons, but nah, car was really good. Yeah, a bit of an average weekend up until now, so we sort of took the punt, obviously, with the tyres, and we hung in there, and the car was good at the end, and it was good to come back through.
Guys, there's a podium about to happen. Go and enjoy it.
Cool, thank you.
Charlie, let's get some more reaction from you.
Well, he just missed out on the podium, but it wasn't for want of trying. Jared Hughes, my goodness, what a rocket that the 888 Mercedes is.
No, it's been good this weekend, hasn't it? It's been a dream to drive. The guys have done an awesome job setting it up, and yeah, it's just been an awesome job to try and put some lap times on the table and show what we had to use. But Summer's done an awesome job as well. She hasn't been feeling that good this weekend, so to do what she's done has been awesome.
Let's talk about that lap record, because you're beating your own lap record. It's a pretty cool place to be, a 1:13.5. Talk us through, was it just hooked up and it's just responding the way that you want?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I love driving this thing, and I can go out there and have a real good crack, and I know it's got my back, and yeah, it just felt awesome in that race. Even when it was a little bit damp, it was really good. But I'm a little bit bummed out. You know, I heard afterwards, I heard what would happen at the safety car restart. How the cars a lap ahead or something. So I don't really know how that works, but that's all right. We got 4th considering where we started. So yeah, pretty happy.
And was it just a matter of you maybe running out of laps to catch Rylan?
Yeah, just running out of laps, unfortunately. We were catching Nash as well because he was on wet. So a couple more laps would have been nice, but that's all right. You got to take it when we get it. We had a good weekend, good points haul. We needed it. So, yeah, I hope we can keep this momentum going.
Awesome. Back to commentary.
Thanks, Charlie. He's a great character, isn't he? He's just one of the most effervescent people in the paddock, I think, at a race meeting, and Triple Eight are onto a good one there. Now, this is where Mark Griffith hit the Armco barrier at the back of Sandown, just on the exit of turn 5. That brought out the BMW M safety car in that race. So a little bit of recovery going on using the quick lift truck to get things straightened out there and ready to go racing. And we've got a Battery World Aussie Racing Cars race coming your way shortly, and then we build up towards the final race of the weekend in GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Now, in case you missed it, we want to walk you through the highlights once again of this Monochrome GT4 Australia race, and we'll explain a little bit further about some of the crazy stuff that happened throughout this. So the big save there was the Method Motorsport McLaren, car number 25, Tom Heyman. It was Max Gagan spinning at the start. They recovered to 6th position in the end, which was outstanding. That was yesterday's AM Class winner, Jacob Lawrence, having the moment down at turn 2 and turn 3. One of many in the race. Safety car was called for this for the first time while it was still very wet, and the Ford Ranger Raptor recovery vehicle was hard at work while the BMW M safety car was on the circuit. The would they, won't they pit stop thing started to play out. Zoe Woods didn't care about that. She was on wets and drove away out in front. This car recovered. Daniel Price was behind the wheel of the Nippies Audi. This was Glenn Walker, who's been in the thick of the action all weekend, but very, very speedy in car number 14. Safety car called for this. Griffo, car number 19. In the AR19 motorsport car, and then the pit stops happened behind the safety car. Now the safety car picked up the leader who pitted. The next car in the queue was the Morris BMW, so that's why things weren't reshuffled. They correctly picked up the right car, who then pitted to serve the pit stop. That was Walker, and then they went racing again. That left 5 cars at the back of the train, but battling for the lead of the race. Jake Camilleri had a slick tyre on the Mobil 1 Ford Mustang and was chasing down Nash Morris for the race lead. He got him with a couple of laps to go and would ultimately claim his first win in Monochrome GT4 Australia. The podium had a Ford Mustang, followed by a Porsche and another Mustang. Jared Hughes smashed his own lap record and finished 4th. A great performance for Triple Eight, and then Ash Seaward Motorsport 5th. AM winners Peter Lawrence and Silver Am. A great race for Camp Creek and Dean Campbell. What a day it's been so far at Sandown. Time to spray some champers and hear from Greg Rust.
Welcome everybody to the podium presentation for the 2025 Monochrome GT4 Australia Round 4, our GT Festival here at Sandown. We are grateful to have with us today presenting the trophies Aurora Blake, Partnerships and Loyalty Manager from Shellcard. Thank you for being here. Please now let's welcome the top 3 cars and combinations for the silver class. In 3rd place, make some noise from Medicki Motorsport and Lubramax, Rylan Gray and George Medicki. Grabbing the trophies there on their way to the podium. Our 2nd place combination. Now what a fight it was in the damp conditions for TechWorks Motorsport, ZW Racing in the Porsche. Give it up, Zoe Woods, Nash Morris. And this is a popular one today in a brand new car, a stalwart of production car racing from Gomersall Motorsport. Would you please be generous in your applause for Jake Camilleri? Top work in that Mobil 1 Mustang GT4. Lots of fans have gathered here at our podium. Drivers, can we get you just to address the media there? Nice and smiley, please, as we capture the moment. We have several podiums to get through. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Monochrome GT4 Australia Silver Cup winners. Drivers, time for the celebrations. Well done. We will do a quick reset with our good team here from SRO Motorsports Group, if that's okay. Not before some champagne. It's quite rightly drenched on Jake. You'll enjoy that. Excellent. Nice respect there. Well done, George. Thank you for doing that. Okay, we'll put the fresh set of champagne and some trophies up there as well. Let's launch into it, shall we? Please now, let's welcome our top 3 placed cars, combinations, drivers for the Silver Am Cup. 3rd place today for Gomersall Motorsport in the Ford Mustang GT4. How about it, Jason Gomersall and Aaron Seaton? Straight to the 2nd place combination for Thunder Buddies Racing TechWorks in the BMW M4. Ryder Quinn, Steve Jackett, come on! And they looked a little flat this morning, but they've come out on top in the class. For D.A. Campbell Transport in the Ford Mustang, make some noise. Dean Campbell, Cameron Crick. We'll get them up there. We'll repeat what we did before. That's one of the terrific things about Monochrome GT4 Australia is the camaraderie. Serious competitors. But nice gesture there. I reckon we've got that photo and the camera's covered there. Drivers, one thing remains. This is your Monochrome GT4 Australia Silver Am Cup class winners. Time for the celebrations. They're already into it. Champagne everywhere here, as it should be. What we need to do, if we can, is politely ask those who are enjoying the moment here to jump on off the dais for us, and we'll reset and go with our final division, our final class, if you will, for Monochrome GT4 Australia. Well done. Some people have got champagne over their glasses and all sorts here, as it should be. Right, ladies and gentlemen, finally, please let's welcome our winners for Am Cup now. Let's keep that applause as good as it was for the first group through. In the 777, tough day yesterday, different on Sunday. For Method Motorsport in the Porsche, 3rd to Nathan Callahan and Chris Lillis, everybody. Let's get straight to 2nd place for Gomersall Motorsport in the BMW M4. Give it up, Glenn Walker. And this will be a popular one because it's Sandown for the Lawrence family. Ladies and gentlemen, Randall Racing in the BMW M4. In 1st place, Peter Lawrence. Terrific, gentlemen. Eyes forward there. Nice and smiley if we can, please. Love it. Huge weekend here at Sandown. That is your Monochrome GT4 Australia Am Cup winners. They're the trophies. At your feet is some champagne. So you know what? Enjoy the celebrations. That's the podium here.
Great racing and great fun from the Monochrome GT4 Australia. Up next, the Pocket Rockets will light up this racetrack. It's the Battery World Aussie Racing Cars. This is the Shannons SpeedSeries from Sandown on 7+.